hear the traffic was overwhelming coming down here yesterday.
Really?
Not when I came.
Oh,
Late yesterday afternoon when I came down.
A friend of mine drove down last evening. I guess he came up from Savannah.
I've run into severe traffic probably once every 2 or 3 times I go down. I mean, it's horrible.
On the Spartanburg side of Columbia, 20 miles on the interstate, there's massive construction going on.
Yeah.
I left here last time. I was stuck on the other
Yeah.
side of Columbia for about 5 or 6 hours.
It was tough.
Were you really?
Do you use Waze? Because it'll send you around.
Yeah.
Waze, the app on your phone,
Yeah.
it'll send you
Route you
around.
around,
Yeah.
yeah. If you get into the right position, you're stuck out there on the freeway.
can't get off
You
the-
can't get off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can, like, and then maybe the shoulders.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you gotta go really bad.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for everyone being here. The 524th meeting of Patriots Point Development Authority will come to order. First item on the agenda is the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, and if there are no objections, we'll accept it as presented. Previous minutes you were sent. Are there any changes or additions to the minutes? If not, and there are no objections, we'll accept those as presented. Rory?
So before I get started, I'm going to ask Darwin to help me and present on the finances, the director's report.
Okay, I'll try to give a quick update on where we are financially. First of all, October was a very good month for us. Our attendance was up over 50,000 from the previous month in October, and we had a nice profit. In fact, we made $2,100,000 this last month. So.
This last month?
In one month.
No, I'm sorry. We made $575,000. However, for the first 4 months of this year, meaning July, August, September, and October, we have made $2,100,000. Now, if you take a look at how much we made last year, we made $7,235,000. So right now, we have $9.3 million of cash or cash equivalents. Now, I've been doing finance for a long time, and in my former tenure on the board, I did a lot of it. I don't think we've ever been in a position to have that much cash and cash equivalents on hand. So, and if you take a look, attendance is up in October. Certainly the admission revenue's up, but the gift shop continues to increase. We had $850,000 in sales in the gift shop last month, even compared to $500,000 same month last year. Lease revenue's up, parking revenue's up. The only thing that's still flat is camping, and so when camping comes back, we're going to have another improvement in revenue and profitability. So we're in really, really good shape financially.
Any questions?
Nice.
Rory?
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Darwin, for that. I'll just kind of give some quick hits on the report there. So on the development side, land side, the tenant visits and property inspections continue to occur monthly. No issues there. All tenants remain current with rent. As you've probably seen in the Post and Courier, the College of Charleston has developed a conceptual plan. That's what these are right here if you want to see them. This is the baseball stadium. This is the tennis. Here we have a few copies if anyone wants to see them. That was in the Post and Courier last week. Was it this week or last week? And then also part of that is we're also working on the annex property right now, which is staff has been working hard to continue making the physical moves from landside offices and the trailers right there over to here. So all the offices on this side, we're utilizing most of the space here that we have. Maintenance has done a great job of converting those into operational spaces for our thing. And then we're still awaiting confirmation of authorization from SPA for the American Financial Group settlement. but we've done everything we can. We're just waiting on that to be approved. As Darwin mentioned, the attendance during the month of October, very strong. We had 22,770 visitors come on board. That's over the 5-year average. 5-year average for visitorship was 18,390. Education is starting to pick up. Over the last month, we've received 30 requests to register for virtual programs in the spring. And this year, I don't know if I feel like we've talked about this before, but in the past, our books that we would send out, that would be a blanket. We would just send out books to everyone. This year, as a kind of a control to make sure we can measure the impact and measure who's using them, schools and teachers actually have to come and request those books for us to send them to them. We've got about 10,000 students scheduled to receive those books. So we are getting some requests for those books, which is a good thing. Education is also developing new materials to engage school visit groups. So we're updating some of the program we have available to offer to school groups coming on site. As Darwin mentioned, the overnight camping or overnight program, is going to be a big boost when we open it back up. Last weekend, on the 14th, was our first trial run. We had 47 people on board to test out all of the new changes. The new overnight program is much more structured. It has much more elemental educational components to it. We've implemented and incorporated a lot of our galleries, spaces to it. We've also expanded it to include the Vietnam support base. So the camping staff, Sarah and her team, have done a great job. We got really good feedback from the leaders on that group, so we're excited to see the potential there. Like every new program, there's always some hiccups. One of the biggest things facing us is we don't have on-site food sources anymore, but that wasn't so much of an issue as just some small logistics things that we'll be able to work through as we continue on to it. Public programming, as we start picking up all of our public programming, we hosted our first Halloween event, so staff did a fantastic job. Staff and volunteers did the Halloween event. We had somewhere around 2,000 or more people come on board for that event, which was really quite nice over that time frame. A big proponent of that, which was nice to hear, well, good and bad to hear, is a lot of people talking to them. We got great reviews. The bad part is a lot of those people haven't been here, or they haven't been here in quite a while. The good news is after that event, talking to them and stuff like that, they were all very excited to come back and see the museum again. So getting their attention back on us was a great positive from that event. We also hosted our Veterans Day event. This was free and open to the public program as well. This was on the Vietnam Support Center. We probably had about 100 people on site for this event, guest attendances. And it was, I don't know how many views online, but it was a pretty significant number of views online and afterwards. We used 4 of our volunteers who were also Vietnam veterans to go over their experiences, drafted or why they chose to join the service. Really nice, really good program, and that'll be a continuation as we start recognizing these commemoration events. And again, all open to the public and free to anyone who wants to join and participate. We're also currently doing Toys for Tots. That ends the second week in that, so we're encouraging people to drop off toys for Tots program in coordination with the Marine Corps. Whoever brings a toy in does receive free parking. So we're trying to boost that a little bit. So from some future initiatives we're also working on is a speaker series program. We've actually talked to several authors who are going to come back and start bringing that program back into speed, getting authors and historians back to talk about some of the relevant topics relating to us and our mission. Pearl Harbor Day will come up. We're still working with the VFW for that. That's a traditional event that we'll do. In conjunction with Pearl Harbor Day, we'll also be having a blood drive here to kind of support and boost that. And then we're also, Bulldog Tours will also have a holiday edition of our Captain's Tour from December 17th to 31 to kind of bring through the holidays there. Going into the museum's collections and operations, if y'all are on Facebook and y'all follow Patriots Point, y'all have seen hopefully y'all have seen the Live from the Archive. That has been a great series. Melissa Buchanan and Macy have done a fantastic job of putting all that together. We've also been working with the Medal of Honor Society. We've been getting some really good feedback and really, a lot of good views on that as well. And that's part of one of our larger mission is to start bringing the collection more into the public view, getting people more associated with what we have and what we can do. The overnight program mentioned earlier, between Sarah, the overnight program, and Melissa again, and volunteers, we've instituted our hands-on history carts. Those are being tested in the overnight program, but those will be coming online for the rest of the museum as well. Another educational stop for guests to get tactile experience, so they'll be, kids and guests will be able to learn about our artifacts that sometimes they can't do by feel and touch. I think for the camping, they had flight helmets, they had battle lanterns, shell casings, and they actually had several ribbons and medals that they can learn about and see, and then a replica Medal of Honor as they're being educated about all of this as well. Fragile Collections exhibit, I know we're all excited about that. That is still on track to open on December 17th. If you haven't had a chance to go see what we're doing now, you might want to go just sneak into the harbor room and take a look. It's coming along really quite nicely on that. And we are going to do some major promotion against that. We're going to have the Yorktown Foundation will be offering a donor night invitation, so those who have donated and made that exhibit possible will be able to come in Wednesday night, I believe, before we open to get a sneak preview of it. Friends of the Fleet, so anyone that has Friends of the Fleet will be able to get a sneak preview of it as well before we open on the 17th, and then the 17th it will be open all to public. And if anyone has noticed when they walked in today, or if you happen to notice, the PBR is back in the lagoon. That happened this week. We got some good television coverage of putting that back in the lagoon. That's after a year and a half of restoration work. And we also at that time moved the Cobra helicopter that sat in front of the Quonset hut over behind the Seawolf helicopter. Actually, that turns out really nice. It actually gives you a nice perspective of the two different types of helicopter styles right there. So it works out quite well on both things. If you also notice, we have the Lafayette Association work party here, and they completely stripped the fantail of the destroyer, and they've been doing some work on that. They were able to put some primer on that, and then maintenance will take over from there. And then finally, I almost had y'all routed this way, but I decided against it. But Gangway 1 forward is now completely finished. Maintenance did a fantastic job of that. I don't know if y'all remember what it looked like before they started work on it. But it is fantastic. Well done for all of their efforts to do that. That is not an easy job, replacing painting and doing all of that for access. IT has taken on some major tasks with the infrastructure. They're still planning for storage upgrades, physical servers. We're also going to start working on all of our kiosks and the exhibits displays to make sure that they are all up to date, working correctly. Actually, and now they're also working on ticketing. So part of the operational shift, the structure is IT now has control over Galaxy, which is our ticketing and payment software. So they're going to be doing we're going to have them on site to do some diagnostics and clean up and retraining. Right now, we're not fully utilizing that to our best benefit, so that's going to be a priority coming up. And then everything that I mentioned couldn't be done without our volunteers. We had a good volunteer appreciation thing, so I want to thank Tom for that, and thank the foundation that helped put that on. So that was really incredible to see those volunteers. They do a fantastic job in everything that we do. And including the volunteers, we also have now, we've started back up the nuclear power student program. And they continue to support all of our collections curator and development of those hands-on history cards and tours. So as Tom is starting to work with some tours to put together the Pry Fly tour exhibit as well, which will be really, really fun when it comes on board. And then finally, the Yorktown Foundation, again, they're pretty much involved with everything we're doing here as well, supporting us. Their main things that they've got going on right now is their Giving Tuesday and the end of the year giving campaign has officially kicked off. So please promote that. All of that helps support us in all of our daily operations. The Fragile exhibit, like I mentioned earlier, they'll be having that. Also on November 3rd, from the previous board meeting when y'all approved the bonuses for our full-time staff, they did receive those, so thank y'all very much for that. The foundation stepped up very nicely and helped. As a state agency, we can't provide bonuses for part-time. The foundation stepped in and was able to support that by giving bonuses to the part-time people, so that was really nice of them. So thank you, foundation, for that. Strategic planning, I don't know if y'all are tired of hearing this from me, but we are actually moving forward. We made some good ground. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a strategic framing and internal assessment before we actually get to the strategic planning part. So that'll include really taking a deep dive into us and what we need to be doing before we actually decide what direction we want to go. Tentatively, that will start in January. Then the actual strategic planning process will pick up in March or April of that time. So the board will be heavily involved, and I'll keep reminding y'all about that, but around April, y'all will be more involved once we start kicking that off at that time, and that's when y'all be able to give the direction and stuff like that. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to do is, where is Bobby here?
Bobby was.
Bobby was, but he left. I guess I droned on too much.
He's got an event right now.
Okay.
Yeah, he's running the
All
event
right.
right
Well,
now.
that doesn't surprise me, but we can at least recognize Bobby Kotlowski, our event coordinator. Been here for 17 years at Patriots Point. Today is his last day. He is retiring. He is just, I've only known him for 6 months, but he has been fantastic, or not even 6 months, it feels like 6 months. No, he is fantastic. He's been here for 17 years. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, he did over 3,400 events?
He did exactly that. He's the first and only event planner that we've had at Patriots Point. So he started the position, was created, and he filled the billet. He was in public safety for a while, and then he moved over, and in 2009 it became the first event planner, event coordinator at Patriots Point. So tough act to follow for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he has been fantastic. And I'm not good at math, but if you divide 3,400 by 17, that means he's averaged about 200 events a year for this organization. So he's hard to replace. So we just want to thank him. I want to make sure that on record, on the notes and stuff, that we really thank Bobby for all that he's been able to do for us over these years.
Let the record reflect that the board appreciates very much all the time and effort, all the good work that Bobby did. He did do a great job in launching that portion of our programming. So great job. We'll miss him
We will, that's true.
in a lot of ways. Is that it, Rory?
And that is it, unless anyone has any questions.
Any questions of Rory?
I just had a question. One, I'm curious about the cost of the food. I know I read that was one of the complaints about.
For the overnight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a local, or, I mean, Miss Hamby is the best, I know. But
Yeah, I mean, they have that for the for that option. If they want us to provide a meal, that's how they do it. They do it directly through them because they were the best price option.
Yeah.
They also have the option of going out for food or ordering food to the ship for them. I believe Sarah, most of them this time, how did they handle the food?
So they brought most of their meals with them, and we used the CPO mess down on the second deck for them to prepare their food, and they ate down there, and they loved that. That was probably 75% of the meals that they ate was personal food that they brought on the ship with them. But they did order food out and had it dropped off to the ship as well, so that worked fine for their purposes as well.
I was just wondering about the cost added on to the cost of spending the night. Is it $15 or $20 for a meal from Miss Hamby's?
So you have, they gave us a breakfast and a dinner option. So your breakfast is a little over $11 per person, and the dinner would be a little over $15. So if a group bought both of those, it would be a $27.
That's a good price.
Yeah.
Not bad for 2 meals.
We will have that catered option tested out on the ship December 11th. So we have a group of 62 that are coming to the ship, and they purchased both of those meals. So we'll see how that works out. But they were excited about that option.
Oh, let me just add to that. Thank you, Sarah.
Yes.
For that. December 18th and 19th is staff and family overnight. So if board members, y'all are also invited, encouraged. Susan, I see you're excited about that.
I heard the report before you came.
But no, yeah. So if kids,
There's
grandkids.
Bobby.
Hey, Bobby K.
Hey,
It's always fashionably late. I like this.
that's the way it is. Where do you want me at? I want to say a few things.
Come sit up there.
The table?
Yeah.
Live stream. Is this live stream?
Where's the camera pick them up the best?
Right
Not there. Okay.
It's not there. It's lighting.
Good morning.
Good
morning.
Today I am retiring from Patriots Point after 17 years. going to be a little tough. I've come to really like this place, even some of the people that work here. I wanted to leave the board with some thoughts. Since I'm really already retired, I can't get in much trouble. So, I've been here for 6 executive directors. 6. Some of them had good ideas. Some of them had bad ideas. Some of them were trying to reinvent the wheel. We have about 70 some odd employees here. And some of those guys here are just here for a check. But there is a core group of people here. There's probably a couple of dozen that really understand this museum and understand the mission. And those people, I'm not going to embarrass them by mentioning their names, but they make this place run. And they are important to this museum. Which brings me to my next point. I really believe in my heart, I really believe that South Carolina, state of South Carolina should really look at their pay system. And this is not a reflection on the board or on the museum, but the only way you're going to keep good people and retain them is to, one, mentor them. The other is to pay them a competitive wage that the private sector has. It's really, really important. And I'm not here to try to change the rules. I'm not here to stir up trouble. I just felt like I had to say these things. All right. Having competitive salaries, even in the state side of the house, is the only way you're going to keep these people. We have about 4 or 5 employees that are left that have been here 25 plus years. You're losing all that corporate knowledge. It's going to be gone. And the only way to keep that sort of thing going is to have people that will stay here. And money's part of it. Like I said, mentoring's another part of it. It's so important to keep those people. Matt Burdett once said to me, he says, we're a museum first, and I get that. And that's what we are. Camping, events is all secondary. But you still have to have that core of people here. And it's really important that we do that. Because we lose people constantly, it seems like. I don't know if it's the time we're in or whatever, but that's all I'm going to say about that. I wanted to say something about, we're getting ready to do these aircraft. I think it's important that we step it up one. Let's put the bombs and the missiles and the fuel tanks underneath and make them look like they're alive, like they do out in some of the other museums. Since I've been here, I've done over 3,400 events. I'm not trying to impress you. I am not. Because it was a team effort. And the one thing that I have learned from talking to these people is that they like coming here, but they don't always get to see the ship. What I'm saying is, like, anybody knows I said I'm not trying to upset anybody. Sorry. I'm a passionate person when it comes to the customer experience here at the Yorktown. And to be quite frank with you, I think we need another stop on the elevator, on the deck 2. One of the things that we're doing here is giving our guests an opportunity to come visit the ship. But a lot of people don't get to see a lot of the ship because they can't get there. They can't climb downstairs. Example, when we have these sailors come aboard the ship and they come here for the reunions, it breaks my heart to see them split up when only half of them go down to the CPO galley and the rest of them have to eat in a snack bar. You know, when back in 2007, when the gin company and Pat Waters was graciously able to provide support to get that elevator in. I was here back in the day when we were using stair climbers to get people up the deck, and we had this really low end ramp to get people up on on the wheelchair. It was tough, and of course I'm not a sales and marketing guy. Ask my wife; she'll tell you. I mean, I know the numbers went up when that elevator went in. Our numbers went up, and I think having more access to the ship not only would help our clients, but I think it would also help our staff working on on exhibits and stuff. Now I know this stuff doesn't happen overnight. The wheels turn really, really slow, and it may never happen, but maybe down the road somewhere it will happen. And I think we would be better for it. I really believe that. And the other thing, a bathroom on the flight deck. I have done my own personal study. It takes 5 to 8 minutes for someone to get from the flight deck to the bathrooms on the hangar bay. You can compound that time with an elderly person, or perhaps a family with kids. It's even longer. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I don't know how this all works. Maybe they put a pre-made unit behind the island and just hook it up. I don't know. I'm oversimplifying this. But I can tell you from my own experience with all these events and all these clients, one of the reasons we don't do a lot of events on the flight deck, because they love the flight deck, is because there's no access to a bathroom. And you get guests up there that are walking around, there's no access to a bathroom. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So I just want to conclude by saying you got some really good directors here. And 3 in particular, and I don't want to embarrass them, but these guys don't mind getting their hands dirty. And Mike and Cole and Chris, it's been a pleasure working with you guys. And I'm going to miss everybody. And that's all I want to say. Thank you for the time.
Bobby, we said a bunch before you got back to the meeting a while ago, but I want to say how much the board, well, one, we appreciate your comments.
Yes, sir.
And giving us your thoughts on that very much. But we really appreciate the work you've done the past 17 years and cranking up the events, but all the work you've done and what you've brought to the museum.
Well, sir, I tell you, I feel like a winner because not only did I get a pension, I got a wife out of it too.
and our condolences to her.
She'll be down here today. But thank you all, and I appreciate you all listening to me, and I hope I didn't upset anybody.
No, not at all. Thank you very much. That it, Rory?
That would be it. Yes, sir.
Okay. In our last meeting, we had discussed the possibility of restructuring our meeting schedule, and said we had Darwin or the mayor were here, so we deferred it to this meeting. In order for discussion, we need a motion on the floor. So,
at this time, Mr. Chairman, I would move that the board move to bi-monthly meetings as opposed to monthly meetings.
is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I would. I'm curious about, and I talked to Rory about this, the reasoning, the pros and the cons, and especially interested in staff and how they feel about this, and if they have a preference to meet or not meet, and if there's something that we should be doing better, then I think we need to know what it is. So I think if anybody from the staff wants to speak up, I'd love to hear it.
I don't mind going first. Yeah, we met about this week, and it's something that we talked about at length too, Susan, the pros and cons, and I think that we can serve y'all better with updates in a more, more comprehensive sense if we're able to do that. A lot of times when we do monthly meetings, we spend a good chunk of time pulling that data and trying to figure out what we're going to present, and a lot of times if it's not, there's very little change month over month. So we try to find more stuff. The next thing you know, we're kind of digging into minutia of what we're doing and bringing in other people. And it kind of, there's certain times that we do need to meet. And maybe it's once every 2 months. And then if we need a special meeting for something, we can definitely do that. But I think as the directors, we all kind of mutually agree about this move. And Roy asked us this week, and we support the move. There are things that we'll need you for. There's no doubt about that, major decisions, and we can do that whenever. Either of y'all want to also chime in?
You're the quiet one, guy.
Yeah, I'll just say, and I won't speak for Mike, but we both have pretty large support roles for the infrastructure and stuff. So a month's time with the size of my department, it takes a month to do half of a project normally. So I definitely agree with Chris that I support that every other month.
Let me ask y'all this. So, we are a governing board, right? We're not a foundation board. We're not in the business of fundraising. We are all appointed legislatively, and we're accountable to the people that appoint us. And y'all might not see it, but that does go on, and there are interactions. The mayor has a responsibility to the town. He's a member of this governing board. And as far as physically meeting, that's fine, but my question is, are you planning to somehow fill in that gap that will occur? And not just in a reporting capacity, but in a capacity of where we are knowing enough of what's going on around here to be able to answer questions or help support. And when we don't know what's going on and we don't hear the problems or the setbacks or whatever, we're not in a position to go find assistance. And I know, and I'm speaking for myself, I've done that a lot through the years since I've been here. I've advocated, and you may or may not even know that. I know Pat's done it, and I know pretty much everybody's done it from time to time. But if we're going to increase the amount of funding we get from the state and get in where we ought to be in the state budget as a legitimate state agency, any kind of decrease in the information we're able to supply or the input or the interaction that we have, I don't think is going to be a positive. So if y'all got a plan B, instead of meeting in this format, that's what I'd like to hear. Because I just don't think we can arbitrarily, and I'd ask the board this too. Do y'all not want to drive down, or what? How do you feel? I mean, is this an imposition?
I personally don't think it's necessary to meet every month, but we can if there's something that requires us. We consciously made a decision about 10 or 12 years ago when the Mo of Honor project popped up with the Bennett, the development popped up. We decided we needed to meet monthly because we had a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not exactly the case now. We've had a couple of meetings, the last meeting where there wasn't a lot on the agenda. We can always call a meeting to deal with something. And the reporting is going to stay the same or better. I mean, you're not going to be uninformed.
That's not what I'm saying.
Well, it is what you just said. That's what I interpret you saying. Is
Well,
that
let
how
me
are they
just
going
say
to
it
keep you
again.
informed? Yeah, that'd be good.
We are a governing board. We have a responsibility. Now, my question was how that works out. Now, and that's fine. What you just said, we'll call a meeting when we need it. But, sometimes that's playing a catch-up game.
I don't think so. And I think that we're gonna meet every other month if we chose to do this, regardless. And if we need to meet in the month between, we can. If we need to meet twice in the month between, we can. It's all there.
So when will the reporting occur that's in the gap between every other month? How is that gonna work?
Talking about
Lori?
the written reports will continue monthly.
Right.
You'll still be getting the written reports and all that information that you're getting now. You just wouldn't meet in person unless there's a major issue or something like that. So all that information's still coming to you each month. It's just not physically meeting each month.
How do you feel about that?
Personally,
Mhm.
I mean, I think it would be beneficial. Like, I mean, I'm listening to the staff, and you know, the reporting is one thing, but you know, it's also, again, what do each of us want to get out of these meetings? I mean, what are y'all taking away from these meetings outside of this report? If you're going to get the report,
That's a good point.
Mayor?
What do our bylaws say about called meetings? How many?
We have to
board
meet
members
at least quarterly.
Okay,
That's
and
our
then
bylaws.
if the members feel the need, how many members does it take to call a meeting?
Majority of the board.
It has to be a majority to call. Okay, I
The
wasn't clear
chair
on what that was.
or the chair or a majority of the board can call a meeting.
Got it. Okay.
And that was amended in the bylaws. It used to be 2.
Okay.
If I could just say something to address Susan's concern. Our reports, when you look at the reports, there's an awful lot of time and work that the director has put in, not only at the weekly staff meetings, but as we submit them to Rory on that Friday, and he questions us, and there's more information, clarifications brought in. I think some of the reports that Rory has been issuing out to you have been some of the best reports we've ever done because of that feedback going back. So I think you're seeing exactly the immediate issue, and if there is an issue that needs to be addressed at a time, you know, you can call that meeting or, you know, talk to Rory and he'll get the answer. But, you know, when you look at us, what we have to do on a monthly basis to attend committee meetings, board meetings every week, that wipes out a week in timing. So I think the timing's better addressed in getting this really concise, where we're working with the executive director to really identify what problems we're faced with on a daily basis. But I think the reporting that we're doing on a monthly basis is pretty good.
Thank you, Keith. I would offer that since Rory started that monthly director's report, we've got more information than we've ever had.
No,
I certainly
agree.
feel that way.
I agree.
Well, if we were to accept to do it every other and then we run afoul, we just change back halfway.
Correct.
I mean, I think this report's.
You can always have a special meeting.
Yeah, I mean,
What schedule are we looking at?
Well, I mean, it's November, I guess. Doesn't matter to me, but I guess I can start January and alternate.
January, so it'd be like January, March,
March.
May.
I mean, but I don't care. I mean, if there's a reason to schedule it differently, that's fine too.
So you'll only report to us once a month?
I'll be giving you this report once a month, but whatever
that's
y'all
my
have,
point.
yeah,
You know,
whatever you have
so
questions or anything
Which,
else, if anything comes
so
up.
that would be exactly the same as it is now.
yeah.
That doesn't change.
Susan.
Those are my questions. I'm not objecting to
You
it.
have
I just want to
You
know.
need to read the report.
I did read the report. Believe me, I
Once
read
a month is all he's
everything.
asking
Ask
you.
Wayne.
She reads everything.
I would say that's a good motion that you made, Jeff.
Is there any other discussion?
I do want to say, in being the non-appointed member of the board, I'm willing to give it a try, but so much that happens here affects the town and vice versa that I just want the board to be responsive that if we really have a need for something that's going to profoundly affect Mount Pleasant, our police, our fire, our first responders, our citizens and all that, I wouldn't call for a called meeting unless I really, really felt the need, and I'm just asking y'all to please consider
Mayor,
that should that arise.
I can assure you, if you would like to have a meeting because of some issue in the town, I can promise you'll get it.
Appreciate
Okay.
it. That's why I'm here, and
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
I mean, I think we do, I know we value, obviously we value the relationship with the town, and we understand we have a responsibility there.
Well, I think you proved that during COVID,
Yeah.
by really helping and supporting what the town was doing, and I, who knows what we may face in the future. So hopefully not another pandemic.
You don't have anything to worry about there, I can assure you that.
All right.
Is there anything else? If not, all in favor of the motion as presented to go to bi-monthly meetings beginning January 2022, signify by saying, raising your right hand. All opposed? The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Thank you all. Are there any public comments that come before the authority? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing contractual, legal, and personnel matters pertaining to the authority. Second,
Question.
Mayor.
Where's our attorney?
he's on the phone.
Oh, okay, got it.
He
Hey,
is
Bill.
on the phone,
I didn't know
right?
you were on the phone. All right.
I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that earlier.
I've been on the phone since before it started.
I got you. Okay.
Okay. All in favor of the executive session, raise your right hand. All opposed? We'll move into executive session. We can take a couple of minutes if you want.
There you go. The geographical reference.
The geographical.
The battery that plays in the town of Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
Roy, are you gonna mention about that, the information that the chapel wanted you to give out?
I was gonna add it on, that's okay, at the,
What's that?
for the enjoyment. This is the information for the chapel and stuff. They want to be on the agenda for January.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Right.
I'll wait till, yeah.
Okay, we're back in open session. There were no votes taken in executive session. Mr. Mayor, do you have a motion?
I do. I move that we do a new license with the professional soccer team referred to as the Battery as discussed in executive session.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Or is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion as presented signify by raising your right hand. All opposed? The ayes have it. It's unanimous.
Who is the second, Wayne?
Darwin. The
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
next scheduled board meeting will be in January, the third Friday of the month.
So there is no board meeting?
No board meeting in December. Okay. If there is no other business to come before the board, we stand. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, real quick. Got an email from Patriots Point Foundation. They've asked me to distribute some documents here. These are the, I'm just gonna let y'all pass those around. Take one. That's the concept for their chapel, and they asked to be added to the agenda for the January meeting to present their newest scope and thoughts on the chapel that they would like to put here at Patriots Point.
Did they have a white paper or another description paper that went with this?
That was the only one that I had. They had that second document, but that was just scribble. I think it was just an attachment to this one. You know, when you kind of get a, did you open it?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't open it.
Oh, okay. I can send that around.
Okay.
Somebody sent it to me. I'll just send that to y'all
Right.
email.
There's no other business. We stand adjourned.
What did they say what they want to
I
put?
don't know anything about
I don't know anything about it. I assume that's going to be in the presentation.
Carolina Auburn game tomorrow.